All right. Hello, people.
Good morning.
All right. Morning. We are back to our regular scheduled program, right? um. All right. Let me adjust my volume here. All right. So you guys can hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
All right. Cool. Right. So I am back in the cloud and we are continuing with our DDM classes, right? Um okay, let me make some adjustments here. There we go. All right. So now I said a prayer before I came to class today. Um Anybody can tell me what do they think that I prayed for? What do you guys?
That will start the mother say.
Wow, that wasn't hard. So was my prayers answered?
I say partially, sir, because I'm working on the walls right now.
All right. Okay, so let us take a look on where we are in the big scheme of things, right? So all right, so let's head on over to our website. By the way, I don't know if you guys had recognized that the recording section for the last couple weeks has received come on, let's just wait for it to load. Right, let's go to the recording section. Let's go to intro to digital design, DDM recordings.
Yes, sir. I realized that you put the class recordings and took down the tutorials videos.
Tutorials video. Well, it has the actual class recordings there. I do still have the tutorial video that we discussed for the last like 2 classes. I seem to have it repeated here. Let's get rid of that. So remember, guys, if there is anything that you missed, you can catch it. You can catch the rerun. However, it's no guarantee that the rerun will be released same time that there was class, right? Sometimes there's a little delay before I manage to put these to get these out, right? All right. All right, let's continue over to DDM. DDM 2023. All right, so let's skip forward here. So we are at the 26th. So we are right about here. So, yeah. All right. All right. So we're right about here. So we're right smack dab in the middle of the assignment. So there's the end of the assignment is coming up right around the corner. But no need to worry, because you guys have like almost finished the module already, and sure, nothing for me to worry about or pray about. Now, coming up on the heels of that next week, we're going to be going into Illustrator, and that will lead us into our portfolio assignment, right? Now, the portfolio assignment is, well, even though you see that it starts from week 9 here, I've changed that up a bit, right? And we are gonna start that like next week, right? So the portfolio assignment is probably gonna start like that and extend down, maybe overlap a little bit. The assignment, we'll talk a bit more about that next week, but we have made it a little bit more compact, so it no longer requires this length of time for the portfolio assignment. If you notice that it lasts from October 9 and so forth, so that's good news. So it's basically easier to do now, so I'm going to adjust that time. And before you can even say fair, right, we will have our major project coming up right on those heels, right? So this is the kind of timeline that we're on. So we have our assignment 1 ending, then we're going to have our portfolio project, which is going to be maybe between this time, and then we'll have our assignment, which is going to our final project, which is going to be this time, right? Everybody seen that schedule?
Yes, sir.
All right. In terms of the topics, we have Illustrator to cover. Sorry, not Illustrator, InDesign. I don't know, cover InDesign. We're going to talk a little bit about sheet design and sheet layout. And 2 more after that, then we have to talk about hybrid images. And our final topic will be on web design, right? So think of it as, you know, just like you learn Photoshop and you learn Illustrator and InDesign and SketchUp, you're going to also learn a software to help you build a digital portfolio, basically, right? In our case, it's going to be a website builder software. So yeah, so we're almost done. We have just like 3 things remaining. 2 assignments, and that's it for DDM. And you know, my hope is that you will pretty much finish with all of the classes for DDM a little before the semester is done, and a little before your final project for Design Studio rolls around. So you won't to have that horrible choice of choosing whether or not to come to my class or do or work on your final project, right? Because we all know what the choice is going to be, right? Right? To come to my class, right? You're right.
Yes, correct, sir, correct.
All right, so looking on assignment 1, we have been doing it in a few parts. So this part of doing it in Illustrator, you guys should already know. And then the last class, we had spoken a little bit about how you can get going with the 3D model, right? So this class, we're gonna speak now on just some tips on compositing and and some tips on how you can save out your model so that you can carry it into Photoshop, right? So if you are fortunate to have your model at this time, then that would be great because you can kind of just follow and ask questions and all of that. But if not, you will have to catch the reruns and try and meet it there. Okay. Let's see. All right, let me just open my SketchUp here. Oh, by the way, you're gonna need the non-web version of SketchUp for what we're going to be doing. The web version doesn't have, well, to my knowledge, doesn't have some features that we're going to be using. All right. Okay. Just allow this file to open. Come on, SketchUp. Okay. All right, here we go. Come on. Okay. Oh, this is turned the wrong way. Okay. Right. Okay, so you guys are seeing my screen okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my model. So this is an idea of what we should have, right? And well, it's not exactly complete. I didn't get a chance to put in my couch from 3D Warehouse. Remember we discussed that last week. Notice that I can see through the glass. So well, these would need to be a little taller. So we would need to have our walls and objects in for that. All right. So I'm going to be assuming that, okay, at minimum, you already have most of your structure up. And we're going to talk about, okay, how do I now take this out of SketchUp and put into Photoshop? Um, um, Give me 1 second here. Let's see. Save. Close it and open it back. Okay, hello and welcome to another tutorial. Okay, hello and welcome to another tutorial. In today, right, you guys are hearing, right?
Yeah.
All right, lovely. This class, we are going to look at compositing in, and this will be using SketchUp and Photoshop. Now, after having an idea of how compositing works, essentially it is combining 3D images with 2D images. That's it. No. When we are talking about compositing, has anybody ever heard that term before? Anybody?
Which term, sir?
Compositing. You ever heard anybody refer to that before? Especially as it relates to Photoshop.
No, sir.
Okay, cool. So I want to show you guys something. So compositing is a little bit of what we have been doing in Photoshop from assignment 1 primarily, and not assignment 1, exercise 1. And you can kind of think of compositing as being able to combine and manipulate 2 or more sources of media together, right? So in the case of exercise 1, anybody remember what we had combined together? Anybody?
Photographs and drawing.
Right. So for exercise 1, we did the car and we did a sky replacement on that car. So we were doing compositing. It's just that in that case, we were really combining 2 or more media of the same type. So we had an image media, which was the background, and we combined it with another image media, which was the car, and combined that with another image media, which was the clouds. But you can also have compositing where we're combining images with videos, or in the case of exercise 2, we were combining hand-drawn media with digital media. We had a sketch that we used, and we combined that sketch with an entourage which we had placed in the image at the end, right? So this is exactly what compositing is. And just like how you have compositing for Photoshop and for static images, you have compositing for video as well. Though we won't be going into that really. So image compositing, check out this example here. Oh, hold on. Photos. I need to. You guys weren't here in audio a while ago, right?
You mean from the video?
Right.
No.
Okay, no problem. I just gotta change. Photoshop to KWA. All right. There we go. So this is image compositing. I guess you could say to the extreme. And this is a time lapse. So look at the different components, the background, taking images from different sources, right? So we're cutting out that, cut out a lamp, the lamp right there. All right. Remember we did a little bit of those effects as well. Cutting out the window. So you realize that this is just pieces of images that is cut out. And in many cases, it's pieces of the same image. To cut out all of those little sections here. Cut out the ladder. And just make a duplicate of the same mushroom and just replace the door so it looks different. add some interior shadow. Isn't that cute? All right, so what do you guys think?
A big difference in these
Sir, I wonder if it's the same Photoshop I use, you know. 'Cause
Yep, it's the very same Photoshop, right? And I mean, this is just kind of on the more artistic side, right? There's a bit more imagination that's here. But when you think about it, we can use this to express our buildings and our designs, right? It's just that instead of having mushroom buildings, we have our actual buildings there. I mean, think of how we can leverage. I mean, if you remember the beginning of this picture, these are all just pictures of mushrooms that were put together, right? In your case, you control those pictures, meaning you don't have to find a picture of a building. You created the building in a 3D program. So you can get any view that you desire. You don't have to like scour the internet to find the picture that you need. But you do have to find assets. In this case, it was a little imaginative. You know, a dog in a bucket and, you know, the roadway and all this stuff. So we're going to do our version of this today, right? Now, just on the same topic of compositing, we looked on image compositing. Let's look a bit on video compositing.
In today's films, it is possible to create almost anything. But the work is definitely not that easy. It includes many hours of attention to small detail, lots of creativity, and a high level of skill. This world is called VFX and is built from many parts in a long pipeline that creates something amazing. And that's what you see on the big screen. The last role in this long pipeline of visual effects is called digital compositing, which is a creative process of assembling filmed and rendered elements from multiple sources to create a final, lifelike illusion. What is that, you ask? Let me show you. It's a profession that includes many skills such as rotoscoping, which separates the foreground from the background, and there are all kinds of techniques to accomplish it. In films, it is common to use a blue or green screen to easily remove the background from behind the actors, and that is called keying. And by doing that, we can create a more realistic background behind the actor. Tracking is another side of the story, and it is very important to know how to do well. There's 2D tracking, and there's 3D tracking, which recreates the exact movement of the camera. Another big part of this job is to remove objects, cables, and trackers, and paint them out and insert something else instead. And, of course, there is computer-generated elements, or, in short, CG compositing. But my friends always say VFX looks fake.
So what you're seeing there, guys, is almost the same thing that you saw with Photoshop, but now you're seeing it with moving pictures, right? So this world of compositing goes far beyond just imaging, right? Now we won't be doing video compositing. We might touch a little bit of film in fourth year when we talk about storytelling and that kind of stuff, but not going into VFX, which is visual effects or compositing. Now, for architectural visualizations, we have taken advantage of these compositing that we use in film, and we can now apply that in architecture, right? So this is actually a project that I worked on a couple years ago, and I just did this as a kind of test. And what you're seeing here is this is a 3D model that was created of a project, and this is some drone footage that that I took, and if I press play here, you will see I can't zoom and press play. Right, you will see that that's what the drone footage looked like. Now the idea is that the property would sit right there. You can kind of make out where the property would be, which is about right there. So, and the idea is combining these two together, which is doing a little bit of image compositing. So here, not exactly perfect as it was a test, but the idea is that the camera in 3D is moving just like the camera in 2D. Now the thing about video compositing is, and the main difference, you are dealing with a moving image, whereas image compositing, the image is still. So you don't have to worry about trying to layer two things together that are moving. So this would be another example of image compositing, right? Of video compositing, right? In this case, this is the 3D object, and everything around it is just a video that was taken. All right. Now, on the side of image compositing, This is another project that that I worked on a couple years ago, and this hotel project here, you can see there is an actual photo of its construction. This is actually in St. Kitts, right? And this is a Hilton hotel going up in St. Kitts. And I did the renderings for this project, and if you look, this is just the rendering of this project, and you can see that this is the actual image of where it's going to go. So you can kind of pick up the similarities in those views, and then in image compositing we combine them so you can see where the 3D model is, and you can also see where the background is, right? And some parts may not line up exactly, but the idea is that you combine it so that the final product looks like it belongs there. All right, guys, any questions so far?
None right now.
All right, so this is what we're going to be doing for this exercise, and I'm going to guide you through the first part of that exercise.
Type of compositing that we'll be using. So the first thing that we'll need to have is to have completed our model for assignment 1. So if we actually take a look on the handout, we can see that this is what our model should look like. Now I have a completed model here. And this completed model is the one that we will use to do our compositing. Now, ideally, the first thing that we would want to do is ensure that we have everything correct on the model. And let's take a look on that reference image again. All right, so this is our model here. Let's take a look on that reference image, and you can see on the reference image that we have a nice background. We have this building in the water, but more importantly, it is perspectively accurate. We also have an entourage here. So in this case, it's a boat. So the first thing we need to do is to get our building at the correct angle. Now, to do this, we're going to use a couple features from our tray. So I'm going to actually pin that, since we're going to be using it quite a bit. Now, we do want to ensure that we have our shadows enabled. Here we go. And also, we do want to get our background as well. Now, if you look on the handout, you will notice that there is actually a link here to access entourage and backgrounds and things like that. Let's click on that. And let's look at entourage components and look in the background folder. And from this folder, you can see, let's put this on 3D view here. You can see the different background options that we currently have. So we are going to choose, let's see this one here. This one here looks pretty good. That also looks nice. There's another one there. Another one there. Now, ideally, you must use a background from this folder, right? You cannot use your own background. So we're going to use this background and we're going to actually put this building in the water. Let's just look at the others that we have here. Okay. So if we look, if we click on the link in the handout, we'll be taken to a folder that has these different views, right? And the idea is that you want to place your building in a way that works with these views. So when selecting the view, you would want to keep an eye out for example, you know, look at the perspective lines of a particular view so that you can.
So have we gone into the folder? The views that are available to us. Has anybody done that yet? Guys?
I'm going to that.
So if you want to do that, what you have to do is when you go to the handout, you see using click here to access the Google Drive folder. Here you'll see backgrounds, and here are the backgrounds that you can choose. Right, so this is the one I'm using in the example. So you can choose any one of these backgrounds. All right, so that is where you find these backgrounds.
Can determine how your building will be aligned. So for example, if you were to put your building over here, you know, look at the lines of the dock, and perhaps, you know, your building would perhaps be aligned something to that effect, you know. So you're gonna need to look at these lines here, and there are quite a bit of images, so you can select the one that best suits you. But remember, you need to have reflections, you need to have an entourage, whether it's a boat or a person, and the perspective needs to be aligned correctly. I'm going to select this image here, so I'm going to download this image, and this is what it looks like. And I am planning to place my building perhaps somewhere about here in this image. So when you're selecting an image, you know, just kind of picture where your building would be. All right, now the next thing that we want to do is, let's go back to SketchUp, and the first thing we need to do is to align our building to the background. Now how you do that is you need to head over to styles, and then you're going to go to edit, then head over to background watermark, and you're going to click the plus to add a new watermark. Now you're going to look for where you downloaded the image, so here it is, and that watermark should just pop in our scene, and it should be semi-transparent, right? So notice it says
Okay, so for those, is there anybody that is following along with the video, or are we all just planning to catch the rerun?
I following.
Okay. I wonder how is everybody else doing. So, Tiana, how are you doing with your model? Tiana,
Yes, sir.
you planning on catching the rerun? Hmm?
I didn't hear you.
Are you planning on catching the rerun, or are you
Um,
following along?
I'm following, but I like to watch it first and then do it afterwards. I can't do the back and forth for these screens.
Okay, no problem. No problem. And how is Nicole doing?
Sir, I'm not yet finished with the first one as I text you and let you know that I'm having a bit of a problem with the dimensions.
Ah, the dimensions, right. Right. So there's that video that is on the class recording gives a solution of how to kind of work around that. So for example, we set up the model in the viewport, and whatever dimensions we don't have, we just trace it from the model.
Okay.
All right, so definitely take a look on that video, which is the last video in the class recording section, so that will help.
Okay,
out.
sir.
Come on.
Thanks much.
All right, and what about Miss Watson? Are you coming along?
Hi, sir. I'm like Tiana. I always watch and then do it after.
And then do it after. All right, cool, no problem. Well, this will be here. This will be here after. All right. Okay. All right. So let's continue.
We're gonna just leave this as is. Choose finish. Stretch to fit screen. You're gonna lock aspect ratio. Ensure that you do that. And you're gonna choose finish. So now what you're gonna do is angle your building so that it lines up with the image. And you're gonna do that by panning and zooming and just kind of getting the image just right. Now you also have to watch your perspective because this.
All right. Remember to mute your mic, guys.
Image has, you know, the perspective is a little bit wider, I think. So I would go to view and camera and go to field of view, and I'm able to just kind of change my perspective a little bit to better match the image here. Kind of push it up a little bit, and you can kind of see, look at how your lines are aligned to the image. You can use that to help determine how it would be. Now you can additionally decide to put your building on the opposite side here. Let's kind of orient that a little bit. Now once you have your building roughly in place, you are gonna create a camera. Let's give another image a swing here, because some of you might choose another image that is a bit more challenging to align. This one is not so bad. Yes, let's look at this one here. So I'm going to download this image again, right? And I'm going to go back to SketchUp, and this time I'm going to choose a little minus there, so I'm going to deleting that background. I'm going to go to add, and I'm going to add this new background, and I'm going to do the same things that I did just now, where I'm going to go next and next and next, and there we go. Oops, actually I put it on blend. Let's edit that. I think we can edit that. Okay, let's remove it again and add it back. There we go. Yeah, we want to change this to background, right, so that it's in our background. There we go. So in this case, this one is a little more tricky to align. So remember, I was saying to watch your perspective lines. So if I do this like this, you would see that, okay, this is kind of okay. It perhaps want to come a little bit more that way. Then it perhaps wants to get a little bigger. So we're gonna zoom in a bit. Now, when you're doing this, remember that this is a flat image. So let's assume that we wanted to put the boathouse on this side beside the boat, right? So we want to do something like this. You know, let's say we want to do something like that. Well, of course, we're not able to put the house behind the boat because the boat is actually a part of the image. So what we have to do is we have to kind of imagine what it would look like behind the boat, and then we're gonna do that manipulation when we go in SketchUp. So maybe it would need to be a little smaller, not too small. You can also switch over to you can also switch your view to X-ray. Not X-ray necessarily, but more, let's go to wireframe. There we go. So wireframe will kind of give you a better idea, you know, because you can see where the lines are lining up. So let's assume that we wanted to put it kind of something like that. Remember, you got to kind of ignore the boat in this case. I think that would be about it. Now, before you do anything, you want to save this view because you might spend some time trying to align this thing and you don't want to accidentally move the mouse. So we're going to save this view, we're going to go to camera. Well, we're gonna go to camera and go to toolbars, and we want to turn on a toolbar called advanced camera tools. Now once you do that, that toolbar will look like this, or in some cases it will be horizontal. What you want to do is choose this first option, which will create a physical camera from. Now when you have the view like this, you're gonna wanna save your camera view in case you move the camera after spending so long to align it. And you're also going to want to save the style. If you remember when we spoke about styles, we have actually edited a style here, and to save our style, this style will have a background. We're gonna highlight this and we're gonna call it new background. So now there is a visual style that's called new background. So for example, if we change our style to, you know, one of these other styles here, we can easily just select back that new background style that we have saved, and it will load back. So what we want to do now, oh, actually, we need to, let's go further and edit this style here. We're going to go to, actually, no, this is fine as is. This is actually fine. Now, what we want to do is, let's go back to wireframe. And now we're going to use the advanced camera tools here. Now you find the advanced camera tools by going to view, toolbars, and you need to turn on the advanced camera tools right there. Now the advanced camera tools will allow you to create a camera, and that camera will hold this position while you move around and do other things. So for example, I can create a camera here. It's going to ask me to name that camera. I'm going to call it comp camera. Alright, short for composition camera. I'll choose OK. So now this camera is here, and actually my view is actually locked to the camera now. Now meaning that if I move around, then I am actually moving a camera. And how do I know this is happening? Well, there's an icon right here that will allow me to unlock the camera view. Unlock the camera view. So if I zoom out, then you can see that's my camera looking on my building. Now if I can move around and do everything else, but if I want to get back the view that I had, I can simply click this button here to view through the camera. Pretty much like that. So I can always go back to this camera view. Now, this is important. If I uncheck that, then my view becomes unlocked. Now I know it is unlocked because when I click here, it says locked. And locked means that the camera is now locked into the view, so I can move around and I don't have to worry about moving the camera. The camera is always looking on the building. So if I click my go to view, it's gonna ask me which view do I want to go to, and it will go back to that view. So my view is saved. Now if I unlock, so notice you see locked here. If I unlock the view and I move it, now I'm actually moving my camera. So you might want to do this if you realize that something isn't quite right, and then you lock it again. Alright, now once it's locked, I can move around and do other things that I want to do. So if for example you wanted to position maybe a person or make some edits to your building, you can go ahead and do that and not have to worry that you're moving your view. Okay, let me go back to the view now. There we go. Now the next thing that we want to do is we don't want to export this building with this kind of cartoon style. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually further edit this visual style. So we're going to go to edit, and we are going to go to edges, and we're going to actually turn off edges and profiles. So that will give us a little bit closer to a realistic look. Now remember that we're actually editing our style here. I've actually renamed my style to Landscape Architecture Style 3, but I'm actually modifying this style even further. So I would need to, well, the styles are automatically saved. So every time I go back to this style, it will load back everything. Actually, it's not fully automatic. You do have to update the style. So for example, if I turn on my edges and I want to update this new style now, I need to click this button here, and now my style is updated. If I want to turn off, you know, if I want to make any kind of modification, I need to always update this style. Now you can know that your style is saved because if I go back to select styles and I select a totally different style like that, I can go back to my landscape architectural style 3 and everything should load back as how I had it. Right? So you save your camera, you save your styles, because you might want to come back to make some modifications and go back into Photoshop again. Now, our next thing you want to do is to also adjust your shadows. Right? Now, to do that, you're going to go over to shadows. There we go. Let's minimize styles. And when you go over to shadows, you might notice that if you want to get a different angle. Alright, so notice that in my case the shadows are going this way, and I want to just kind of carry it down a little more. Let's make it a little longer that way. I think that is good. Let's carry it back a little bit. There we go. So I am liking those shadows. I can also set, you know, like the darkness of the shadows and so forth. Now you might realize that you are not really going to get shadows to look really realistic in SketchUp. So we're going to have to make some modifications when we go over to the Photoshop side. But at minimum, you should be able to extract your shadows, no problem. Alright, so now that we have these things complete, we definitely would want to save our file. So I'm going to call it assignment 1 comp, short for composition. And now what I'm going to want to do now is to take this into Photoshop to do some more work. Now to do that, I'm going to want to save this but without the image. Right, that's a key thing. I don't want the background in here necessarily. I rather have a transparent image, and then I can always modify the background in Photoshop. So to get out this image, first I'm going to actually turn off shadows because I don't want the shadows right off the bat. I'm going to come back for the shadows later. So I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Export 2D Graphic, and I'm going to export this, and I'm going to use this folder here, and I'm going to export this as a I want to export it as a PNG. I'm going to go to options, make sure that I have a transparent background. But before I can get a transparent background, I actually need to turn off my background because I don't want my background from SketchUp. So let me cancel that and go back into styles and edit, and I'm gonna go over to background, to watermark. All right, there we go. And I'm actually gonna delete this. Now I can always get back my style if I want, so it doesn't necessarily matter. I don't want a sky, and I mean, it doesn't matter what the color of the background is. You just want to ensure that your background is plain. I would go with I don't think it should matter, but let's see. Let's just leave the background as is. And then we're going to go to export 2D graphic again, but this time we're going to ensure that we choose PNG, and then under options we're going to make sure we choose transparent background. All right, and then we're going to choose OK and export. And we're going to wait for
Hey guys, tell me something. Is the video for you trailing behind the voice? Or is it intact?
I have it small, so I can really see the most moving, so I can't tell.
Oh, you can't tell. All right. Anybody else watching? Is the video trailing the voice? Jermaine, you saying something?
No, I was saying I'm using a phone, so I'm not really sure the mouse is
Oh, you're not really sure. Okay. Because sometimes it can tend to do that. On my sample that I'm watching here, it seems like it's like a 2 second behind. So when I'm saying something, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop share and start again so that it hopefully that causes it to catch up. All right. Okay, cool. Let's continue.
SketchUp to generate this image. All right, now when you see the image is supposed to look like this. So there's nothing else in this scene but the background. Let's zoom in here. So that's a nice image there. And we're gonna now work some magic in Photoshop. Okay, now once you have Photoshop open, this time what we're going to do is we are actually going to open our background first in Photoshop. So we're going to go to File, Open, and we're going to find where we had that background. So let's go to Downloads, and that's the background that we got. Now, it's important to open the background first because the idea is that the background is going to be already aligned for us to the foreground. So now once the background is in, notice it comes in on a layer called background, and I'm actually using my layout for my workspace layout for DDM that we created early on in the course, right? So this is why this is what my workspace looks like. Now, the first thing we want to do, we want to not use this as a background layer. We want to have this as a regular layer. So we're going to right click that and go to layer from background. And what that's going to do is turn it into a layer. So we're going to call this BG for background. All right, there we go. Now that it is a background, now what we want to do next is we want to drag our image that we created, or we're going to place it over it. We can use the place command. So we're going to go to place embed, right? For those of you who have a different version of Photoshop, you'll just get one place option. Doesn't really matter. So we're going to choose place embedded, and we're going to browse to where we have that image. Now this should drop exactly in position, or roughly in the same position, and then we are going to choose the OK button here. Now you could also drag your image in, doesn't necessarily matter. And once the image is in, notice it's going to come in as a smart object, and you know that because it has the smart object symbol that we saw from the early days. That's that little smart object signal there. But if you remember that the smart object is a layer, the smart layer is a layer that cannot be modified, so we don't want that. We want to be able to erase and do all kinds of stuff. So we're going to right click that, and we're going to say rasterized layer. So now we're able to edit that layer. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to need our shadows to come in to this composition. And a clever way that we can get that done is we could either save an image with the shadow, or we could guesstimate where the shadow would be, right? So those are your options. Now, if you're feeling confident about drawing your own shadow, then by all means, you would create a new layer. And we'll call that layer shadow. And with the layer called shadow, what you're going to do is you would now use your, there we go, our polygonal tool, polygonal lasso tool. Make sure that you're on the shadow layer, and we're going to actually just kind of draw in a kind of a rough shadow here, kind of like that. And we're just going to do that. There we go. Then we're going to fill this with black, so ensure that your paint is set to black, and you're going to go to the paint bucket and fill. All right, next we need to actually deselect, so we're going to switch back to the lasso tool, right click and deselect. Now we need to put the shadow layer behind that layer, and there we have our shadow. And of course we can adjust the opacity of this shadow here. There we go. Now, if you're not feeling confident about drawing your own shadow, you could save out an image that has the shadow from SketchUp and then use that as a base to trace out the shadow, and then you can just delete that layer. But I'm pretty sure you guys should be able to confidently be able to trace out a shadow. All right, good. So I'm going to, now what we need to do, we obviously need to deal with this boat. The fact that this boat is actually, the building is obscuring the boat, but it should be the other way around. So let's turn off our shadow and turn off our building. Now, for those of you who might have objects that are supposed to obscure your rendering, or rather your 3D model, you're going to need to cut out that object and put it on a layer above. So in this case, the boat is doing that. So I'm going to actually cut out the boat. And I don't really need to cut out every aspect of the boat. So I'm using the polygonal lasso tool. And where it's getting too small, I'm actually going to use the plus button to kind of zoom in a little bit here. Alright. Remember, you don't have to pan around. You can actually push your mouse towards the edge of the screen and it will kind of move that around for you. Alright, now notice in this case that even if I cut this out, I have these little spaces to deal with, but I'm going to come back and deal with that right afterwards, right? I'm holding space bar and left clicking to pan. Or I could have just pushed my mouse against the edge of the screen to pan. There we go. I'm going to cut this out here because the house is going to be in front of that. Now, depending on how much of your image is obscuring your boat, oops, I went too far there. I press backspace to undo. It will determine how much you need to cut out. Now, in this case, I'm actually just going to go ahead and cut out the entire boat. Because I may want to move my building around at a later date, so I don't want to just cut out the exact areas. Alright, good. Now once that is done, I'm going to actually copy this, edit, copy. I need to be on the background layer because this this boat that I'm cutting out is on the background layer. So I have to ensure that I'm on the background layer. So I can go to edit and copy and edit. And I'm going to go to paste special and go to paste in place. That's important because when I do that, I'm actually just pasting a picture of the boat directly over the boat. Let me show you what I mean. If I turn off the background layer, I just have the boat by itself. There we go. So it was pasted directly on the boat. Now, if I turn on back my shadow and the building, then I would want this boat. I'm going to call this layer boat. And I would want my boat to be like that. Let's turn on back the background. There we go. And that is looking a bit more reasonable. Now, perhaps I need my shadow to be a little darker. You can, we can mess with that. Additionally, I do believe this shadow is supposed to be a little obscured when it at this point here. Now, you can really, that point here should be a bit more obscured. Now you can really get down and dirty in terms of how you want your shadows to be. If you are a person that is very particular about shadows, well, that is great because that will help you to for your buildings to come out looking, your compositions to come out looking more real. So in this area, this shadow should really kind of cut off at that point there. So let's actually do that. So we're gonna go to the shadow layer and we're gonna use our polygonal lasso tool, and we're actually gonna cut this out here, and I'm gonna hit delete. There we go. Now we've gotten rid of that shadow. So now that looks a little bit more realistic. You can see the shadow falling behind there. Now the other reason this doesn't look too real is there should really be some kinds of reflection that's happening here and possibly in the window. So we're gonna also do some kind of reflection as well. So we're gonna use the same concept that we used before, where we're gonna actually duplicate this layer. So there is the house, is that little building there. I'm going to duplicate that layer. I'm going to right click and choose duplicate. I'm going to call this layer shadow, and I'm going to put this sorry, not shadow, I'm going to call it reflections, short REF. I'm going to put it below, even below the shadow layer. And I'm going to flip this around by just clicking the middle and just dragging it down. In some Photoshop I need to hold shift, so I gotta hold shift to drag it down and just kind of flip it the opposite way like that. Here we go. Then I want to kind of skew this into position, so we're going to use back some of these tools that we were familiar with. So we're going to go to edit, and then we are going to go to distort. Let's move that out of the way. So let's see if distort can do the trick. Let's see here. I actually want this to kind of be like that, and it doesn't have to be like perfect. It just needs to kind of look like it's, there we go. You know, it will take some amount of getting used to. Okay, so that will be our reflection. So we're going to choose OK on that one, so we're happy with that. Then of course we need to cut out the walkway. section here. So we're going to do the same thing like we did with the boat. We're going to now go to our background layer, and let's actually turn everything off. Now look closely when you have a lot of layers, look closely how you can turn everything off. You can just click the layer above, click and hold and drag, and that will pretty much turn off whatever the mouse cursor hits. Now what we want to do is to cut out this walkway so that we can use that. So we're going to do the same thing. Make sure you're on the background layer. You're going to use the polygonal lasso tool, and this should be relatively easy because it's a straight line. So we're going to cut out, let's just cut out the entire dock. We don't know if we're going to need it. No, we don't need all of the dock, so I'm just going to cut out just the top part for now. Doesn't matter that I've cut this in half there, because we're not going to need it just yet. Now
what you guys should know is that you don't have to choose this image, right? It's the same methodology rather, no matter what image you have selected, right? So if you look at the different image choices that you have, let's say this image choice, let me see now. Let's see what we would do here. Guys, I want you to head over to the class whiteboard for me. You with me, guys?
Yeah.
Right. So I want you to head over to the class whiteboard, and so that is on the DDM page. Just head over to the class whiteboard here. I don't see anybody yet.
Loading the video.
And what I want you to do for our small class activity, I think this one here was class activity number 3. There you go. Put these over here. All right. Okay, I see a few persons on the board. All right, so what I want you to do for this relatively small class activity. Everybody here should be everybody on the morning class, I believe, right? I mean, maybe some of us have maybe swapped with the evening class or so forth, but doesn't really matter. What I want us to do for this activity oh, one of them is too big. This one. Yeah, this one is too big. Okay. This one. Right, here we go. Okay, so all I need you guys to do before class is done is we're going to call this class activity. Activity here. Before. I want you guys to select the image that you would like to use for your background for this assignment, right? And there are many ways to, there are many opportunities of which you can insert your building into the site. But what I want you to do is to do a basic sketch. And I know this is going to be, there we go. I know this is going to be a little tricky because you're using the computer, but you're simply just going to use lines. So let me show you an example of what I mean. I want you to tell me the location of where your site will be compared to this image. So let's say I'm using this image here. Let's make this full screen. Right. So let's say that I want to use this image for my site. Well, all I want you guys to do is a little smaller. Right. Is just to put your, just duplicate the image here. Right. That's all you have to do. And if you want, you can use the pen tool or you can use the line tool. But I just want you to give me an idea of where you will place your building. So let's say I want to place my building here. I'm going to use pen tool and I'm going to, let's not use green, let's use red.
Excuse me, sir. So what if we choose this no and then we decide to change our minds?
Oh,
Are
come on.
we able to change our minds?
Well, the assignment is due in the next couple of days, so one would hope that you would make up your mind. No. Right? But I would say that if it comes down to it, then I'm not going to force you guys to choose, to have to stick to the image that you chose. But the reason I'm going to encourage it is that being that you're watching this exercise now, and you kind of have an idea of what it will take to get our building in, right? Remember, it is just purely where do you think would make the nicest composition, right? And this is totally objective, so there's not really a right or wrong answer. So for example, you might think that, you know what, I think if I place my building here, if I place my building here, this would make a nice composition. Maybe that's where you want to place your building. But if you decide to place your building here, then you are going to have to do some photoshopping to extend your frame outwards, because obviously your building drops beyond the frame, right? So I want you to just take a minute to just give me that sketch. Now, if you happen to have your building already and you want to, instead of sketching this to show me, but rather actually carry it in your SketchUp scene and take a screen clip of it rather than sketching it, you can do that as well. But the objective is that I want everybody in this group to just consider where they would want to, how they would want to lay out their image, and just give me some indication of that. Whether you want to give me a simple sketch, all right, you can do that. And I'm just going to copy. I believe I like that. Right. So I need to also put my name beside it. So this is Brian Williams. There we go. Right. Now, what I want you guys to do, whenever we do these class activities, I have to have like some kind of record that you did indeed do the class activity. So how I keep my record is by you submitting some kind of form or something, so that I have the record that, hey, Brian Williams did this class activity. Remember, that's how we get our participation grade, right? We will have class activities that will randomly pop up during class. And well, if you're at class, then you're able to take part. So what you will need to do for me is, you will, after you place your image here, I just want you to take a screenshot. You can just do a screenshot of your sketch. And submit that for me. And that would be my record to show that you have participated in this class activity. All right, everybody clear?
Yeah.
Sir,
We can't do anything right now.
sir, how do I take the image off of the whiteboard?
Oh, just copy it. Oh, you want to, hold on. There are two ways you can do this. Either you already have your model in SketchUp. This is the preferred way, where you already have your model in SketchUp and you want to carry background in to take that picture. So let me just demonstrate this way. So this is also in the video, but don't worry, you can watch back the video to get it. So when I go to styles, I would go to edit, and I would go to watermark settings, and I would go to add a new watermark, and I'll get this browse dialog box. In my case, I've downloaded those images to my downloads folder. So let's say that I choose right. So let's say it's this one that I had chosen. Let's give it a while. There it is. We're going to do it as a background. Next. And we can choose how much we want to blend in. Let's go next. Let's do everything as default. We want to make sure we lock the aspect ratio because we don't want to stretch it, right? And yeah, and that's it. Then now, let's say I position my building now. So I'm here trying to determine where will I position my building. And you have to kind of think a little bit ahead, because obviously this building is going to be in front, but it doesn't mean that it will be in front when you Photoshop it, right? So it might feel a little weird to kind of align it, but what you have to try and do is you have to kind of catch the perspective. So like, I think that is the perspective there. And let's say that I want it to be like here a little bit. Now the reason this might be off is that I may have to adjust my field of view to make it a bit more perspective-ish. And let's see, where shall I place it? Yeah. So what I'm using to make my judgment is I'm trying to look at these lines here. I'm trying to look at this line versus that line. Just what we discussed in the video. Like, I'm trying to use it to kind of align my building. Now remember how this works. Just because I align my shot this way, this is not what I will be producing. I'm only using this to align how I want my shot to be first. Now, if my perspective is off, then I'm going to have to go to the field of view, and yeah, notice that it's getting a bit better now. So right, let's say that that is where I want to place my view. Right, so let's say that I want to place mine there. Then if you want, you can decide that, you know what, this is what I want to do. Ideally, this is what I want you to do. But I'm giving you the option to change your mind. So all I will do now is do a screen clip. And in Windows, to do a screen clip, I hold Windows key, Shift and S. The screen will go dim, and I'll just take a screen clip like that. And it will pop up in your notifications area. Or let me show you another way you can do it. When you click start, you can just search for snip, and you will see the snipping tool here. You just open that app. It will look something like this when it's open, and it will say, you know, new snip, and it will do the same exact thing, and it will give you the picture. Now this picture is what you want to submit for this activity. So you want to just choose save, and let's say that I just save this to the desktop because I have to save it somewhere so that I can submit it. All right, so I'm just gonna save it to my desktop here. I might just put my name here, Brian Williams, assignment 1. All right. Now those are you who, and I will accept this even if your model is not complete. Your model doesn't have, this is not the actual assignment. This is just a class activity, guys, right? So if your model is not complete, don't worry about it. Just submit whatever you have. The main thing that we're doing here is that we're trying to use this opportunity to determine how my view will be aligned, right? Now, for those of you who may not have anything so far, which I hope is not a lot of you, but just in case you don't have anything, well, then you will have to rely on using this method, which is show me via a sketch, right? You can still take part in the activity. Though I was saying to myself that, you know, perhaps I should only make people who are completed with the model take part in the activity, but you know, I'm opening it up, right? I'm not an evil person, right? I don't hear anybody agreeing. So
Thank you, sir. I mean, I agree as well.
All right. So what I want you to do is that when you take your screen clip, I want you to just drag that onto the board like that. So now I have done 2 versions for myself. I have done a sketch. Let me put it side by side here. I've done a sketch and a screen clip. Now you only need to pick one. So again, if you have the model already, there we go. If you have the model already drawn up to a certain extent, then I want you to carry in the background, take a screen snip, stick it on the mirror board, and then there's going to be a button right here. Right. Submit class activity. Right. There's going to be a button right here. You can just click when you have done so. So we have about an hour left in class. So I'm going to give you about, I don't know, about 30 minutes, guys. No, 30 minutes is too much. I'm sure you can do this in like 15 minutes. Can you?
Yeah.
Right. So for those of you, so remember, either if you have an incomplete model, use it same way. Or if you don't have any model, then you will need to do a sketch. But I would need to see the evidence here along with the what you will submit for the class activity as well. All right. I will need to see both. All right. So I give you a couple minutes to do that.
Hello, sir. I only have visitor access. I can't do anything on the board.
You only have the? Oh, right. I need to
visitor
give you guys access. My bad. Let me give you guys access to edit the board. There we go. So you should have access to edit the board now.
Thank you.
Please don't go mad and delete all our previous notes. As you can see, we have been keeping everything that we have discussed in class throughout. was actually a part of this class activity. So, you know, this board is great because we can always kind of come back and look at what we have done throughout the module. And then there are other things that haven't come up yet. So I'm just gonna put one board for all of these. Leave that over there. That's a portfolio assignment. Oh, let me enable the form for you real quick. Hey, I wonder what happened to everybody. Oh, by now most people should have a Miraboard username and password. Hoping that you guys are using Miraboard otherwise from this. So it's a good idea that you sign up for your own account. Whenever you get a chance to. Oh, this is actually, yeah, this is class activity number 4. All right, guys. The form is now active, so you guys can go ahead and submit your class activity number 4.
Sir, class activity 4 says 4 words and images submissions.
No, that's going to be 5. Use the link on the mirror board. You may
Okay.
have to, you may have to refresh the class website for that to be updated. Because every year we change class activities, so it varies. So use the link on the mirror board, and I'm going to update the link on the website shortly so that it's in alignment. I mean, ideally the class activity links though should they're usually on the mirror board, so I'm actually going to remove them from the website because they change so often. It takes a little bit more effort to update the site to keep up with the rampant class activities that will pop up. So when you refresh, you might notice that the class activities are not on, the buttons won't be on the website anymore. You'll have to go to the mirror board to access those class activities. All right?
Sir, for assignment 3, for class activity 3, I use the forms, I actually went on the website.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. They lead to the same place.
Okay.
Right. They lead to the same place. It's the same form. But I'm just going to remove the activities from the from here on, from the website, and just leave them on the mirror board. Just so that there is just one place that we come to. Alright, if you had the form open, just do a refresh now, just to make sure that you have typing. right. I'm seeing 3 persons, 4 persons submit so far. So let's continue to complete this activity. Okay.
Sir, I have a quick question.
Yeah. What's up?
I think the issue is uploading
What?
permission, and I still have issues with uploading the last what's it called again? The last graded thing with it. So would I be able to email them to you or something like that? Because I can even show you the images on whiteboard right now. I have them. I just can't upload them.
Oh, when you try to upload them,
Yeah, for
what?
like so for even like the last activity 3, I have the pictures that I just can't upload them. And I have the Lego thing that we did, but I can't submit it because I think it in the server issue from Google. I don't know if I could. Let me show you actually. I even have.
I get what. No, I understand what you mean. Okay, here's what you can
Like,
do.
for example, sir, here's exercise 5 with the Lego thing right there. So I just can't upload it.
Here's what you can do. Upload only pictures. Don't upload the SketchUp file. Upload just a picture in the SketchUp location and tell me if it goes through.
Alright, because I was trying to upload on the file a while ago for even this class activity, and it was not sitting the
So
screenshot. Yeah. So even
not even
this
this.
activity right now, I was trying to upload the thing I just put on over here where my cursor is. I was trying to upload this and it wasn't taking it. So that's why I had to do it here.
I'm not sure. Might be an issue with. Usually those issues are normally linked to the internet connection.
Probably because here's even let me show you class activity 4. I have it here so as well with all of them right here. So I just can't upload it.
All right. So here's what we do. I want you to. I need you to. You tried it from a different internet source.
Not it, because I don't really have anywhere else to go at this point. Because the place
I-
I'm at, I can't really access anywhere else.
All right. So I want you to ask a class member to upload them for you.
All right, that's right.
If you can, right? They would still use your name or whatever, you know. They can use their Google, so you don't have to give them your Google credentials. But I have a feeling it has to do with the internet connectivity.
Okay, I'll just look at it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. All right. So, so that should be it for this short activity. No.
Sir?
Yeah?
Yeah, this is Tiana, just having some difficulty putting in my picture. So, still trying to put it in.
Okay. All right, no problem. No problem. While you do that, we're going to continue with the tutorial nonetheless. All right? But don't worry, the form is still open, so you can still submit the your image. I see nobody has selected image number 1. Okay.
Sir, could you remind me where the form is? You said activity 3?
Remind you, the form is on the mirror board.
Oh, never mind. Okay, I see it.
Right. And these are probably going to change. All right. So guys, what I have done is I have updated the list that shows the persons who participated in the different activities. But you'll need to refresh your browser to get that. Yeah, it should be there now. For activity 1, 2, and 3. Activity 4, well, is this. So this is not there yet. So we'll show that at a later time. All right. So moving on. So we're dealing with compositing today. So let's continue with this now that most of us have kind of have in our minds where we want to put our buildings. Let us proceed.
Once we do that, we're going to now do the same thing. We're going to copy, and then we are going to place in place. So we're going to call this new layer that we've just cut out, and we're going to call this dock. And let's turn on back our layers now, and we're going to put the dock layer in front of the reflection layer. All right, there we go. All right, so now we're getting somewhere. Now next, what we want to do is definitely turn down the opacity of our reflection layer. So we're going to go to opacity, and we're going to kind of turn that down. So it's kind of looking like that. There we go. And next, we want to probably add some wrinkles to the reflection. So to do that, we're going to, on our reflection layer, we're going to go to filter, and there should be some interesting filters that we can use to get some wrinkles. So if under filters we look under distort, here we have ocean ripples, we have ripple. Let's try ocean ripple. Let's see what that looks like. And we just want to wait for that to come up. There we go. So we should get a preview of what that should look like, and we can actually maximize this. And let's zoom out by clicking this button here. All right, and we can actually mess with this. We can make the ripple size bigger, and we can change the ripple magnitude. You know, let's see how that looks. There we go. So that's looking a bit more nicer. Next, what we want to do is to kind of get rid of this hard edge here. It's not looking too realistic. So to do that, we're going to go on the comp, assignment 1 comp layer, and we can know that's it by turning it off and on. And let's just use the eraser tool. The eraser tool is here. And no, that's not the eraser tool. There we go. And what we're going to do, let's make that brush. So we're going to edit the brush size up top. So we're going to make that brush size way smaller. We're going to let the hardness be all the way to 0 because we want it to be soft. And we're going to also adjust, in my case, the flow needs to be 100%. Let's make that brush a little bigger, and we're going to kind of erase some of these hard lines here. There we go. All right. Right, so now it looks a bit more like it's coming out of the water. All right, great. So more things are happening. Now, we could also put some reflections in the mirror. And to do that, what we want to do is let's create a new we're gonna go on the background layer, and we're gonna actually use the polygonal lasso tool, and we're gonna cut where the glass is. So let's turn off our boat for a while. All right, good. Now we just need to cut where the glass is, and what we're going to do is we're not actually going to cut out the glass. So that was the first one. I want to cut the second one, so I'm going to start another lasso cut here by holding shift. Notice when I press shift, I get the plus button. So I want to hold shift, and then I want to start with the lasso tool again. So I have two selections. Now here is the important thing. I want to cut out a section of the background to use in my reflection. So listen, look carefully. I'm going to actually drag this and I'm going to put it somewhere over here. And the idea is I want to cut out this section of the image and then use it as my background. So let's do that. So I'm on my background layer, and I'm actually going to cut this out by doing Control C, and then I'm going to do Control V. Now I don't have to do paste in place. Now I can just paste it pretty much anywhere, and I think it's actually paste in place. Let me turn off the background. There it is. And I'm going to call this layer Reflection Glass, and I'm going to use my move tool, and I'm going to just now move that into place here. Oh, this needs to be on the top layer, so I'm going to put this all the way up top, and I'm going to try and just snap this in here. There we go. All right, now that's looking like a reflection, though it's not realistic, but you know, it can pass. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to distort this a little bit, so we're going to make the opacity and carry it all the way down, so you just barely see it there. There we go. Let's carry it down even further. There we go. So now it's kind of mixed. As a matter of fact, another thing we can try to do is we can change the blending mode. So let's try one of these. Let's try screen, and then take the opacity down. I think we get pretty much the same effect. It's almost the same effect. Almost the same effect. All right. So there goes our reflections. Now, when most of this stuff is done, you want to do, because you're in Photoshop, it's a good idea to do some kind of color correction that will help the picture to more blend nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to create what's called an adjustment layer. Now to do that, that's a whole new panel. So we're going to go to Window, we're going to go to Adjustments, and that will open up our adjustment layer. Now the type of adjustment we want to use is going to be, let's use a photo filter. So we're going to click that, and notice what happens. There is actually a new layer that has appeared here, and what this layer is doing is that it is affecting all these other layers below it by applying a photo filter of orange. So it's kind of adding an orange tinge to everything. Now that maybe orange is not quite your flavor, you can, there are actually some presets here. So I did a warming, and there are different types of warming. There we go. Now the great thing about adding an adjustment layer is that it is indeed an adjustment. So if I turn it off, you're back to the original image. So you aren't modifying these pieces, but instead you're adding an adjustment on top. So I'm going to add another adjustment layer. I'm going to add hue and saturation, and this is what that looks like. Now notice again that another adjustment layer has appeared, so therefore this is going to apply on top of this, and then that is going to apply to everything below. So you can actually layer adjustment layers upon adjustment layers upon adjustment layers. So for this adjustment layer, this I would probably want to beef up the saturation, you know, to get that water pumping. Not too high though, it's gonna look weird. So just a little. There we go. And that's it. And let's add a last adjustment layer. So this process, what we're doing is called color correction. All right, so we're doing some, or color grading. We're actually manipulating the colors of the entire composition. So we're gonna go to now brightness and contrast, and we're gonna just kind of brighten the image just a little and add a little contrast, not too much but just a little to let it be interesting. There we go. Now you can add your own kind of look and feel to this, but pretty much that is what is required. Now we're gonna need an entourage. In this case we kind of use this boat as an entourage, but for those of you who might choose a different image, you might have to cut out your own image of a boat. You can use entourage from the internet. You don't have to use the entourage that's provided, but you do have to use the backgrounds that are provided, right? So pretty much once it's done, we are going to save your file. We should actually have been saving as we went along, but anyway, we're actually going to save our files now, and that will be the end of this tutorial.
All right. So I'm hoping that we're feeling a little bit more confident in wrapping up our assignment 1. How do you feel, guys?
Feeling good about it.
All right, well, that's you, but how does Dana feel? Dania. I keep saying Dana.
I'm okay. It's okay.
You're okay. All right, cool. All right, what about this Spence? Miss Spence, you there? No? Okay. All right. Tiana?
I feel okay, sir.
All right. Well, I will just, judging by the few answers that I get, that you guys are okay. All right. Okay. Spence, I see your message. So, guys, I look forward to seeing what you have given. By the way, one announcement though. We will the cutoff for handing in the exercises is coming up, meaning I'm going to go back and mark those who I didn't mark, and then after that, exercises will be closed. All right. And that is going to be on this weekend. Okay, so I'm going to make one last mark, and then that would be your exercise grades for the semester.
Okay, sir.
All right, so I will see you guys on Monday, and we're going to start to go into now InDesign and desktop publishing. So we're turning a new chapter next week. And after that, we have what? There's 2 more topics, and then that's it for DDM. All right. So I will see you guys on Monday.
Right, sir. I was just about to tell you that you have missed one of my first exercise. You just mentioned it. So yeah, that's no problem.
That you have what?
You had missed my first exercise, the one with the when we had to
Oh,
see
yeah,
picture, but you
man.
just
I'll pick it up.
mentioned that.
I'll pick it up when I do the remark.
All right, thank you again, sir. We'll see you later.
All right, see you guys. Oh, is that a question?
So I just want to talk to you a bit soon.
Oh, yeah, man. Go ahead.
This is my first class back. I was sick for a while, so I didn't know that I'm first class back. Well, I'll watch your videos and catch up, but I just let you know.
All right, so you're trying to catch up?
Yeah. If you need the sick notes and stuff like that, I'll have it. So I could email it.
Yeah, man. Definitely email it. And so are you able to finish the exercises by next week?
Yes, sir. That's no problem.
All right, good. So you shouldn't be all that bad, but just give me the sick note and put it in the submission comments as well. All right. So while I'm marking, I'll see it.
Okay. All right, sir.
All right, cool. Later.